Here's your wrestling news for July 25th, 2021. And your headlines for today include WWE's first comment amidst CM Punk joining AEW, breaking news, AJ Lee most likely to join AEW too, Nick Gage wants to face self-proclaimed King of the Deathmatch Kenny Omega, Zelina Vega reacts to fans saying WWE is booking her poorly, Kenny Omega opens up about AEW's first exploding barbed wire deathmatch, NXT superstars still working dark matches before SmackDown, beautiful Bobby Eaton hospitalized after suffering fall, and more. We are starting today with CM Punk, who is expected to debut with AEW very soon after reportedly already signing a contract. Given how popular Punk was and still is with fans, it's no wonder why there's been speculation that WWE could make a play to bring him back, if nothing else than to keep him from Tony Khan. That isn't the case, as when Ringside News asked their sources in the company, they were explicitly told, quote, WWE has no interest in doing business with CM Punk. Punk infamously walked out of WWE in 2014 and was sent his release papers on his wedding day, and the two sides have not been close to making amends since then. Punk joining AEW will be a huge coup for the company and will no doubt boost the ratings, but as far as WWE is concerned, they'd rather see him with the competition than work with him again. Neither Punk nor AEW themselves have confirmed that a deal has been signed, but there's been plenty of sources who are saying that he's signed a deal. Now, Bodyslam.net, who broke the news that Daniel Bryan had signed with AEW, is just the latest of many sites to confirm Punk is coming, and the report notes that AEW has a big decision regarding Punk's debut. It reads, "I was told that he's 100% for Chicago. They want CM Punk in Chicago. They want him to be there. It's not a matter of if, but when. You know they have Dynamite, they have Rampage, they have All Out." Punk's AEW debut will undoubtedly rock the wrestling world, and it'll be interesting to see which show the former world champion makes his debut on. When Punk does make it to AEW, he won't be coming alone, as the company is planning on bringing his wife AJ Lee, but for a limited number of dates, far fewer than her husband is expected to work. It's unclear whether she'd be a wrestler or a manager for Punk, but her presence along with Punk is guaranteed. As to who they'd face, Punk has plenty of options, from former foes like Chris Jericho or Jon Moxley to younger names like Darby Allin, or even a dream match against the likes of Sting. AEW's women's roster isn't on the same scale, but AJ Lee's WWE tenure has shown she can work well with anyone, so we'd expect feuds with the likes of Nyla Rose or even AEW Women's Champion Britt Baker. Perhaps the real-life couple could face the other power couple in AEW, as a Punk and Lee storyline with Cody and Brandy Rhodes could make for some epic TV. AEW may have Punk, Lee, and Bryan, but WWE has no shortage of big names too. And with the likes of John Cena and Goldberg returning, the war is no longer AEW versus NXT, but AEW versus the main roster. Bodyslam.net were the first to report that Daniel Bryan had signed with AEW, as the company will have plenty of reasons for fans to tune in this September. Bringing in Punk and Bryan is arguably the biggest move AEW could make in their war with WWE, but signing both men has proven to be difficult for the company. That's according to Cassidy Haynes, who spoke on the Body Slam podcast and said that Bryan's deal with AEW was finalized before Punk started to show interest. Haynes explained that when the idea of Punk joining AEW picked up steam, AEW were forced to reevaluate their plans in order to capitalize off the buzz the Punk reports were giving them. It was said that Punk's interest threw a wrench in the plans for Bryan, and that the current plans for him to debut at the Grand Slam Dynamite on September 22nd could still change. AEW reportedly had everything mapped out for the company through All Out, but the past couple of weeks have caused plans to change. But given the size of the names they brought on board, it's no wonder why AEW are willing to shake up plans to accommodate the two former WWE champions. CM Punk hasn't confirmed the reports of his impending AEW debut, but there's been plenty of clues that he'll be returning to the ring very soon. Yesterday, another huge clue was dropped, as the official Twitter account for Living Colour followed AEW, and fans will know that band for performing Punk's theme, Cult of Personality. Tony Khan has shown in the past that he's willing to pay for licensed songs to be on his show, and we can only hope that Punk keeps his iconic theme when he debuts for AEW later this year. Impact news next is that last weekend's Slammiversary, Impact World Champion Kenny Omega retained his title, only to be confronted by Jay White. The show closed with White deciding whether to Too Sweet Omega, Don Callis, and the Good Brothers, but that wasn't the original plan. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's noted that the plan was for Andrade to stand up to Omega, and that the cleaner wasn't even aware of White and the new plans until he got to Nashville for the pay-per-view. This Andrade-Omega face-off was meant to build to a program that would culminate in a six-man tag for the tapings after Slammiversary, with the singles match between the two in Mexico City. These plans fell through as Andrade and Impact couldn't come to terms on how much he'd be paid, and White was brought in instead. Given that both are AEW wrestlers, perhaps Omega and Andrade will face off down the line, but it won't be for Impact's World Championship. One person who does want a piece of Omega is Nick Gage, who fans will get to see wrestle on next week's Dynamite. Speaking on the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, the Deathmatch legend called out Omega for a death match and said they'd use real glass and real barbed wire. Omega was previously invited to GCW Homecoming Night 2, which will take place today, and time will tell whether the AEW champion provides an answer to Gage's challenge. Over to SmackDown now, as Zelina Vega shocked fans by returning recently after her controversial firing last year, but things haven't gone great for her comeback. Since returning, Vega is 0-3 in the ring, meaning her last WWE victory came on the September 21, 2020 Raw, where she defeated Mickie James. As an avid Twitch streamer, Vega has a loyal fan base who aren't happy with how WWE are booking her, and now she's reacted to criticism of WWE's decision to bring her back just to lose constantly. On Twitter, Vega defended her most recent loss, this one to Toni Storm, saying that Storm's belt distracted her and, more importantly, her bank account didn't lose at all. We'll have to wait until Vega picks up a win, but until then, the 30-year-old superstar seems happy losing in the best-paying company around. Now at Revolution 2021, AEW did their first exploding barbed wire death match, which didn't live up to expectations. Though the match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley was good, the underwhelming explosions at the end left a sour taste with fans, but Omega himself doesn't have a problem. Speaking to Wrestling Observer Radio, Omega discussed the match, saying, "The finish aside, I'm glad, I'm really happy we did it, I'm proud of the match we called, I'm proud of the match we performed, it sucks that it'll be remembered for something different, but when I look back at the match we did, it was a great memory for me." Tony Khan ultimately refused to pay the Explosives crew after the disappointing ending, and whilst Omega is proud of the action in the ring, that isn't what the match will be remembered for. More from SmackDown, as for the past month, WWE's main roster has been giving tryouts to NXT superstars, and this continued last Friday in Cleveland. Before the show, Aaliyah had a match ahead of her main roster call-up where she defeated Indy Hartwell, whilst Odyssey Jones toppled Austin Theory, who has already got experience on the main roster. It's been reported that Aaliyah was called up in a trade with Mandy Rose, who's now in NXT, and it'll be interesting to see how she fares after this latest tryout match. And we're ending with some sad news, as wrestling legend Beautiful Bobby Eaton took a nasty fall this week and is in pretty rough shape. Bodyslam.net reports that the 63-year-old suffered a fall earlier this week, which left him broken fingers and a banged-up hip, and it's believed he'll be sent to physical therapy soon enough. One half of the famed Midnight Express, Eaton is a 3-time NWA US Champion and 3-time NWA Tag Champion, and our thoughts are with him at this sad time. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.